Lzzy Hale knows the music world. As the fierce frontwoman of Halestorm, she's seen it all. The backstage drama, the rising stars, and the bitter feuds that never make the headlines. But when someone asked her about Wolfgang Van Halen, her voice softened. "He's not like the rest," she said. What made her say that? In the world of rock and roll, especially in families where the father is a legend, things get complicated. Many second-generation musicians struggle to live up to expectations. Some break under pressure. Some try to live in their father's shadow. And then there are those who act like the world owes them everything, just because of their last name. Lzzy's words came with weight. She wasn't throwing shade randomly. She had seen the kind of arrogance that sometimes grows in the children of legends. "I've met quite a few guys," she said, "that think they're better than everybody because their dad was famous." But then she added something powerful. "That's never been Wolfie." And with that one sentence, she told the world that Wolfgang Van Halen was something else entirely. The weight of the Van Halen name. Wolfgang Van Halen was born into music royalty. His father, Eddie Van Halen, wasn't just a famous guitarist. He was the guitarist, a revolutionary, a legend. His solos redefined what a guitar could do. He inspired millions, and his name became part of rock history forever. Now, imagine being his son. The world expected Wolfgang to follow in those footsteps, but not just follow, run, leap, and fly. Every note he played, every performance, would be judged against his father's legacy. And worse, people wouldn't give him a fair shot. Many would say, he's only here because of who his dad is. But Wolfgang never asked for special treatment. He never begged the world to call him great. Instead, he let his music speak for itself. When he joined Van Halen as their bassist, fans were quick to criticize. Some didn't like that he had replaced Michael Anthony. Others said he was just a kid trying to copy his dad. But Wolfgang didn't fight back with words. He just played. And over time, people started to realize he wasn't trying to be Eddie. He was just trying to be himself. Lzzy's first encounter with Wolfie. Lzzy Hale didn't always know Wolfgang personally, but the first time she met him, something stood out. He was kind, humble, down to earth. "He's one of the most respectful, genuine people I've met," she recalled. "No ego, no entitlement, just a guy who loved music." That's rare in the industry, especially when you have every reason to act like you're on top of the world. Lzzy had met musicians with lesser names and greater arrogance. But Wolfgang? He carried himself with quiet strength. It reminded her that the true heart of rock wasn't in fame or attitude. It was in the music, and Wolfgang understood that better than most. What impressed her the most wasn't just his talent, though he had plenty of that. It was his character. He doesn't walk into a room like he owns it. He walks in like he belongs. There's a big difference. Mammoth WVH, a statement of identity. When Wolfgang launched his own solo project, Mammoth WVH, it was more than just an album. It was a message. He played every instrument. He sang every word. It was him, start to finish. No big-name producers. No help from old Van Halen bandmates. No favors. Just raw talent, hard work, and honesty. That album wasn't trying to ride the coattails of the past. It was reaching for the future. It said, "This is who I am, not just Eddie's son, not just the Van Halen kid. I'm Wolfgang, and this is my voice." Lzzy Hale was blown away. "There's something incredibly brave about what he did," she said. "He could have made a safe album, full of nods to Van Halen, but he didn't. He trusted himself." And the fans responded. Mammoth WVH hit the charts. Critics praised its depth. Musicians respected the craftsmanship. And most of all, it showed that Wolfgang didn't need anyone's approval. He had earned it on his own. Humility in a loud world. In the world of rock, where louder is often seen as better, louder guitars, louder clothes, louder personalities, Wolfgang was different. He was quiet, but never weak. confident, but never cocky. Lzzy admired that. "He listens more than he talks," she once said in an interview. "That's rare in this business." Wolfgang didn't chase headlines. He didn't start drama. He didn't complain when people tried to compare him to his father, even though they always did. He stayed grounded. That humility didn't come from insecurity. It came from strength. In a world full of noise, sometimes the most powerful statement is silence, followed by a killer riff. Grief, legacy, and strength. When Eddie Van Halen passed away in 2020, the music world stopped. It was one of the darkest days in rock history. But for Wolfgang, it wasn't just a legend that died. It was his father, his friend, his teacher. In the weeks that followed, fans expected Wolfgang to carry the torch, to maybe do a tribute tour, to maybe play Van Halen songs on stage. But he didn't. Instead, he released his song, Distance. It was a heartbreaking, beautiful tribute to his dad, and it showed just how deep the bond was between them, not just as musicians, but as father and son. Lzzy remembered crying the first time she heard it. "It wasn't just a song," she said. "It was a goodbye, and it was full of love." Wolfgang wasn't using his father's name for fame. He was honoring it in the most sincere way possible. Brotherhood in the rock community. Lzzy Hale believes in building each other up. In a genre where competition often turns into rivalry, she has always chosen support over jealousy. So when she talks about Wolfgang, it's not just praise, it's respect. "He's like a brother in arms," she said. "We're fighting the same battle, keeping real music alive. And it's better when you're standing beside someone like him." Over the years, they've shared stages, green rooms, and private conversations. And every time, Lzzy saw the same person, grounded, kind, fiercely talented. She believes Wolfgang is one of the leaders of the new generation of rock, not just because of his name, but because of how he treats people, how he writes music, and how he stays true to who he is. The curse and blessing of a famous name. Being the child of a legend is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, doors open. People know your name. The spotlight finds you. But on the other hand, people doubt you. They assume you had it easy. They compare you to someone you can never truly become. Wolfgang Van Halen never tried to escape the Van Halen name. He just tried to add something new to it. That's what Lzzy Hale respects most. Not just the humility, but the courage. The strength it takes to build your own identity when the world expects you to be someone else. "Wolfie isn't standing in anyone's shadow," Lzzy said. "He's building his own light." Wolfgang Van Halen's journey is far from over. He's still young, still growing, still exploring new sounds. And unlike many musicians who peak early, he's just getting started. His band, Mammoth WVH, continues to tour. New music is in the works. And every show, every interview, every performance, it proves one thing: he belongs. Lzzy Hale sees him as more than just a peer. She sees him as part of the future of rock, a future that respects the past but isn't trapped by it, a future that values sincerity over ego. "He's the real deal," she says, and people are finally starting to see it. What can young musicians learn from Wolfgang Van Halen? Plenty. They can learn that talent means nothing without hard work, that being famous doesn't mean being better, that humility isn't weakness, it's a superpower, and most of all, they can learn that being yourself is the bravest thing you can do in a world that keeps trying to define you. Lzzy Hale's words weren't just about Wolfgang. They were a message to everyone who ever felt like they didn't belong. A reminder that you don't have to pretend to be something you're not, because sometimes being real is louder than being loud.